Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Paranormal Patio. Is my audio all right? I got to check the messages here. Can you hear me okay? I know you're watching. Somebody give me an indication. All right, perfect. Thank you, Matthew. Appreciate that. So, tonight, the first live stream, I was hoping that I would have my studio here. It was supposed to be delivered today, which would mean there would be no electric in it and no lights, but I was going to make do. So, anyway, it'll be here Monday. And I have converted the garage into this beautiful studio that you see before you right now. Big stuff tonight. We're going to do the teaser for my documentary, which I hope delivers. Some of you guys have seen it already. After that, we'll have some music that will be in said documentary. My friend Joe Davis is here representing Jerod and the cat, and he's going to play some tunes or a tune. We'll figure that out. He's working outside in the yard right now. Beyond that, we will have lots of announcements. You guys can meet my new team members for future video projects. Justin and Cody, they will be here later. And of course, we're going to do a video interview with Adam Taula, my good friend, the Paranormal Polynesian. We're going to talk about the Ogden Exchange in Utah and this crazy EVP. And if you're like me and you're like Adam, we're really quick to dismiss EVPs. This one is the most terrifying thing I've ever heard in my entire life, and we're going to play it for you. It is very unsettling, and he's going to tell us all about the night that it was captured and all of that good stuff. It's going to be really good. Looking forward to that. Afterwards, for everybody who's still here, we'll do a live Q&A, and that'll probably be about it, but it's a lot. There's a lot going on. This is really weird. I'm not used to having to look at a camera, but it's great. I'm really looking forward to everything. So what do we do? Do we go ahead and do the teaser? I think we do. I think we do the teaser. I had this lucid dream that my girlfriend at the time and I were flying around southern Illinois, and then we crossed the Ohio River, which at the time I didn't even consider like we're crossing the Ohio River. Like we're just flying, you know? And we land on the other side of the river. Again, geographically, this was not like in my processing. So we land in what I can only assume would have been Kentucky. And we land in front of this really nice house in this small town that's like fairly dilapidated, like it's nothing there. And this house really stuck out to me. I remember it. I can still see like the dream version of it. So we land in front of this house and we walk up to the riverbank because the house is right on the river, and there's all these dead garfish on the bank of the river. And then I woke up. So 2 years later, 2003, 2004, me and a couple of my buddies decided to go hiking for the day in southern Illinois. They had never been, so I was kind of like the de facto guide for the whole day. And I took them to all the spots that I knew, and we weren't ready to come home yet. So trying to think what's one more thing that we can do, you know, while we're here. So we double back and we take the ferry at Cave in Rock, which is right at the Ohio River, cross over, drive a little ways, and we find Smithland, Kentucky. And we just take a random road and we park the car and we get out, and I look to my left and there is the same house that I had the dream about. The exact same house right on the river. And immediately I'm like, I remember this dream, and I'm like, oh, this is really, really weird. I had never been here before. So we get out and we walk up to the riverbank, and my friend Paul is just a little ways ahead of me, and he says, hey guys, come here, look at this. And we get up there and there's all these dead garfish on the bank. And I'm like, oh, this is just nuts. I had never had anything like this happen before, ever. I started watching Hellier. I watched the whole thing, and they're talking about the book at Adorba. I thought it was interesting. The illustrations are awesome, and they use a lot of them in Hellier Season 2. I decided I'm going to start reading this book, and I found it online. It was, it was like a chapter or two in, and there's a map, and it's like all these like areas, around where the I Am the Man goes in Kentucky on his way to the cave. And number two on this map is Smithland, Kentucky. And I thought, oh Jesus, I am flooded with all this, wow, this is crazy, absolutely nuts. So I'm listening to Pennyroyal the second time through. I didn't notice it the first time. In the last episode, you mentioned Aleister Crowley visited his family in Livingston, County, Kentucky. And then I was like, what the hell? Like, Livingston County is Smithland. I mean, there's a couple of other little, villages or hamlets or whatever, but there's nothing there. There's no major point of interest, really, from a mundane physical life standpoint, anyhow. I'm going to be talking to Nathan and Darian for my show. I'm going to ask them about it.
That's the thing I didn't connect when, when we were talking about it. When you said Smithland, all I knew was Livingston, County, Kentucky, right? But I didn't know Smithland was in Livingston County.
Yeah.
So you pointed it out to me, and I'm like, holy shit. And then you and I started pulling up the maps and everything, and there isn't anything in that county except for Smithland. And really, there's only a few buildings. If you came to Livingston County in 1904, any of the years that he could have been here, that Aleister Crowley would visit his family, that's it. He would have had to go to Smithland. And the only thing that was there...
Yeah, that's something else I didn't even point out is, there's the house in Smithland that I had the dream about that I found in real life by happenstance. And there's another building just to the south of that, and then on the south side of that building, on the opposite corner of the house, is an old Freemasons Hall, and it was also used for a bunch of other stuff. In the Civil War, they used it for supplies and stuff for the Union Army, because you have the Ohio River just to the north, and just to the east, the Cumberland River starts right off of the Ohio River at Smithland. So it was pivotal to move supplies, back and forth and all kinds of other stuff. So it was definitely important during that time. Then it became a church, and then it would eventually, it's just an empty historical building now. I mean, it's protected. It's not going to be torn down or anything, but...
And so that's an interesting thing, too, because for Crowley, at that time, he was traveling around the U.S.,
Well, what'd you guys think? Everybody finally gets to see the trailer. It will be public on YouTube as soon as I'm done with the live stream tonight, maybe before. Yeah, the overhead shots are awesome. Kentucky is beautiful, especially every part of it, I think every part of Kentucky is beautiful. It's such a different landscape from the corn and oil pumps that we live in here. So yeah, it will be out. Hopefully, I'm counting on fall. I will have a proper trailer out by the end of summer, I think. That's my goal. It's why I'm not recording podcasts right now. So we just finished up season 2. Katie Webb was the last guest, which was a really fun episode. I smiled so many times just editing it. I thought I was going to have Joker face going on. A lot of fun. So Surface, Before Me, My Altar. I talked about the title in the last episode with Katie Webb in the intro. So go back, check it out. There's a cool story for how I came up with the name. And yeah, I love it. Southern Illinois, yeah. Connor. Absolutely beautiful down there. So much different than here. It's like a different world. Surface will be out, and in the meantime, you can have a sneak peek at some of the music, because coming up next, we're going to have Joe Davis join us from Jerod and the Cat, and he's going to be playing some acoustic versions of some of the songs that you'll get to hear. So we'll be right back. All right, we're back. Joe, welcome to the patio, my friend.
Hello, thank you so much. Glad to be here.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about Jerod and the Cat first.
Well, there's this guy named Jerod. He's a front man. I've known him almost my whole life. He's a great guy.
Indeed.
So I'm assuming we have a local daily newspaper, and I was on the front cover of it today. Yeah. Kudos to me, tip my hat. But they asked that question, like Damon and I were on Damon was on the phone. He lives in Cincinnati now, but for those of you that don't know, I have a band called Jerod and the Cat. I have a friend that we had played with before in a band named Damon Mitchell. He's now a full-time musician and releasing albums, and
He's great.
Yeah, we have been jamming. Man, I want to say since 2012, so like 9 years now. I didn't realize it had been that long.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Yeah. But we're in a band called Jerod and the Cat, and there is no Jerod, there is no Cat. There's two dudes named Joe and Damon, and trying to explain that to the lady at the newspaper, and she just sort of blank staring back at me. And to be honest, I didn't get to hear that. I don't know how much Jason wants me to say here, but I'm extremely grateful to be here. Jason was a long-time friend, but I got to watch what I assume is like a teaser trailer for a trailer of Surface for the first time, briefly, except you guys probably all had the benefit of hearing sound. I just had these beautiful images with no context. But Jason was nice enough to sort of hit me up looking for music. He had mentioned this. What's the show that you love on Amazon?
Yeah.
Hellier. I don't know if everyone knows that that's an influence.
Sure. I think so at this point. I think it's a safe bet to say.
But he had hit me up and said, "Hey, I really love this show. I'm looking for some like royalty-free music." I'm like, "Well, you're a buddy. Everything I have is royalty-free." And I'm working on an album, so here's what I have. If there's anything there that even remotely works for you, it's yours. Like you can use it, do whatever you want. And so I sent it to him, and he's like, "Oh, that's all horrible."
I did not.
He picked out a couple songs that he liked. Of the songs that he picked of the album were two songs, and one I plan to play. It's called "Fine by Me." Can I talk about this?
Yeah, sure. Okay. Yeah.
I have not told anybody this, so I don't know how many listeners, but this is firsthand knowledge. I have not told anybody. But the song is called "Fine by Me." And if you take the lyrics as it is on the surface, it appears as though it's an individual talking about abducting another individual and holding them against their will. But in reality, it's just a metaphor for being in a bad relationship. Like how that's really not that much different.
No, yeah.
And most people don't really necessarily, my other friends and Damon, like when they first heard the lyrics, they're like, well, that's really dark. And I was like, yeah, it was meant to be. But I knew the whole time, like, to me, like sometimes you're trapped in a situation you can't get out of.
Sure, yeah.
The context of it to me seemed irrelevant. But that was a very long way to get to the point that, like, I literally had come up with a riff, thought it was catchy, so I recorded it right away. Then I went back, got on my kit, I played drums, came back, and then I was like, oh, well, I got to write lyrics. Inspiration hit, I recorded it, never touched it again. Until Jason was like, hey, I really like this. Can you come and play it? And I was like, if I remember how. So it's no secret. You guys probably can't see it, but I do have some lyrics here to help me
No one
cheat.
would have known. You sold yourself out.
No, you know what? They're going to know. If I play it and I mess up, they will know. If I kill it, they'll be like, oh, he's just, being a little shy. And you don't know me, but I am not shy.
Not at all.
Clearly not.
Not at all.
But yeah, this is off an album that I've recorded during the pandemic with Damon. We actually release it a week from
Today.
Nope, the 17th, which would be a week and a day.
Okay. So.
Yep. But yeah, I'm excited to play it for him.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear it live, man.
Yeah.
The acoustic version.
Yeah, so
Unplugged.
Have they heard the song at all?
I
No context?
don't think
Nothing?
so. No.
Okay.
So you have no reputation to live up to. No expectations.
Well, I would definitely highly suggest on July 17th, if you have a chance, if you go to iTunes, Spotify. I know you're not an Apple guy.
I'm not an Apple
picked
guy.
that up. Do they know that, though?
Everybody who's listening to my show knows I'm not an Apple guy.
Amazon Music, whatever your service is, it'll be there. Hopefully, if you have a paid subscription, you don't have to pay for it. If you do, not a lot of people know this. I'm not keeping any money from the album. It's all going to the Robinson Kiwanis Club. They would greatly appreciate the benefit of people listening. But after you hear it here, I highly encourage you to listen to the actual rock version where there's a drum that carries the beat and a thick old rich bass line that's there. But
you told me, you said, you picked the two worst songs for me to play solo.
Yeah.
I know, I'm sorry.
Of all the stuff. But yeah, it's okay. It's Jason, so I'm more than welcome to come here and maybe make a fool of myself. We'll see. We don't know.
You have the added benefit of nobody has expectations here.
Yeah.
No pressure.
Oh, yeah. He called you, or she called you out on it. He does. Yeah.
Yeah, I do mention it every episode.
Yeah.
It's a personal decision.
Yeah, that you don't like Apple?
Yes.
Is it that passionate?
Yeah, that's pretty passionate.
Okay. Well, I recorded this whole thing on my Mac. It's just like,
get out.
I don't want it
Get
on.
out.
I don't want it on my film. It's horrible. How dare you? Yeah. I wouldn't blame you.
No, it's cool. It's cool.
Stick to your convictions.
I will.
I'm ready when you are.
Whenever you're ready, take it away, bud.
This is called Fine by Me. If I butcher it up, I'll just play through it like I didn't and keep going.
Absolutely.
Where did you go? Nobody knows. Ran away. That's fine by me. Patch your clothes. Turn off your phone. You're all alone. That's fine by me. Turn off the lights. They are too bright. We're in the dark. That's fine by me. Where did you go? Nobody knows. Only me. No point to beg and plead, yeah. I'd rather die than tell a lie. But this is how things go, you never leave. Can't get free, your hands are tied. Now you're stuck with me, yes, you're stuck with me, yeah. did you go? Nobody knows. You went away. That's fine by me. Pack your clothes. Turn off your phone. You're all alone. That's fine by me. Turn off the lights. They are too bright. We're in the dark. That's fine by me. Where did you go? Nobody knows. Only me. That's fine by me, yeah. I'd rather die than tell a lie. But this is how things go. You never leave. Can't get free. Your hands are tied. Now you're stuck with me. I'd rather die than tell a lie. But this is how things go. You never leave. You can't get free. Hands are tied. Now you're stuck with me. Yes, you're stuck with me, yeah. Stay with me. You plant a seed that doesn't grow. The land was bare, but how to know? Plans were made, not meant to be. And all these things you could not see. That's it.
Dude, you need to do an unplugged recording of that for sure.
You think?
Yeah, that's a neat little edge to it. I like it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love both of them.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that. Good job.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to be here and entertain your guests and you.
Yeah. Hey, good to see you, buddy.
I've only played that song twice now, so.
Yes.
We are doing a show on the 17th, so
Yes.
needed to practice if nothing else.
If I am free, I'm going to be there. Do you
Well, I hope
think
you
I'd
are.
get in trouble for pulling my phone out and recording you guys?
I would
cut?
be disappointed if you didn't. Yes.
So might have a little video next weekend too.
I tell you what, I'll give you a heads up when I'm doing Fine by Me with the full context of everybody. I want to give your audience a chance
That'd
to
be
hear it as
sweet.
it's meant to
Yeah.
be heard.
That'd be awesome.
On the 17th, Damon, if you don't mind me carrying on.
No, by
Okay.
all means.
So Damon and I, when we started out, we like to refer to ourselves as the indie rock duo, which meant that we were two guys. And in theory, when we would play, we were both writing songs. We both play guitar. Damon much better than I do.
Damon's like a prodigy.
Yeah. We used to joke when we were still in a band together that Jason, Damon, and I were going to start a band, and Jason was going to call it Damon Mitchell and the Coattail Riders. And I'm still hanging on to that coattail, trying to see where I can get to.
Oh, man. That's such a crazy story because we borrowed him. He was like 14.
Yeah. Eighth grade.
We were like, what? You were close to 30. I was like,
I was 26, 27 at the time.
So, and like his dad would bring him to practice and like drop him off. And he filled in because we needed a bass player.
Well, so I hope your audience can appreciate this story for not knowing Damon. Damon grew up in a very Christian household.
Sure.
His family, very popular Southern gospel group called the Mitchells, and I mean that sincerely. Like
Super.
60s, 70s, they were the real deal. Tour bus and all, and major acts. And so Damon's always sort of come across all this naturally. But when Damon and I played our first show in like a real bar, It was in Champaign. I got a message from his dad being like, "Oh, I'm just so disappointed that you would even ask." Of course, Damon was only 18 at the time, but legal age to get into the bar. And I find some irony in this. Like this past weekend, I played with Damon at the city park and his dad, and it was great. And they had just got off a 10-city tour where they played 7 shows in 10 days.
Wow.
And the majority of them were in bars. And Damon and his dad were both playing there. And I just thought, that's hilarious to me. But
I'm not surprised. I'm surprised that he didn't have more to say on this. But we can talk about that another time. But like the crazy thing was, here's this 14-year-old kid.
Mhm.
And I think all of us in the band were like, this kid's going to do something.
Oh, yeah, of course.
He's way beyond
Yes.
what we need him for.
Yeah.
And he's just
Still the case.
terrific.
Yeah.
Like, who knows where he's going to go, man.
He's only gotten better, too. It's sort of
I
like
know.
a fine wine or something. With age, he's just getting a
it's
little
amazing
better.
what
Yeah.
happens when you're not 14.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
But yeah, you guys are both awesome.
Well, thank you.
I'm grateful to know both of you and to have the music because it's great, and especially for this project.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've seen some of the names. Chris Lewis was one that popped up.
Yep.
Good guy.
Yep.
Great musician.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, you're pulling out all the stops on this one, aren't you?
Spare no expense.
That's what it does? It just favors out the board, you know,
I
just
guess.
say, and all these people use their talents to help me with mine.
Yep.
I love it.
My favorite band of all time is Cold.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Very familiar
Yeah.
with it. Yeah.
So, okay.
Surely not with that hat on.
Right. I wear it all the time. This is my second all black Cold hat.
Okay.
The first one's all autographed in the house. But
So
I
like
wore
in a
it until it
shrine
was
and-
brown.
But it's in a shrine and
Yes.
there's candles lit.
Everything.
And you pray to it and then go to bed.
So, yeah, the new guitar player for Cold, the new lead guitar player, is in another band called Lifer. And I
Okay.
reached out and I'm like, hey, I'm a huge fan of Cold.
Yeah.
I also am a big fan of Lifer. Is there any way I could use this song in this documentary that I'm doing? And Nick Coyle is like, absolutely. Use whatever you want. I was like, that's awesome. Thank you
Wow.
so much. So,
Wow. Yeah.
no strings. Here you go. Take what you want. Chris was the same way. Of course, I went to school with Chris.
Yeah.
He was in a band called the Kinnison.
Who
Sat
had-
in study hall with him while he wrote Kinnison songs.
Yeah. And they were in the late 90s, early 2000s. Like they
it
had
was like 2005. They did
Was
a
it?
UK
Yeah.
tour with
Yeah.
Blink 182 and Cutie.
yeah, like they were the real deal.
Yeah.
Google it.
Tour.
Or
They got kicked off
YouTube.
the Warped Tour being too ruckus.
Oh, I don't know about that. He's mellowed down. Kids
Yeah,
do
yeah,
that.
yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
He's married and kids, and he's just a
Yeah.
regular old guy now, but
Yeah.
and he's still a great musician.
I agree. Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to all the music and finding ways to use it to also push the story in
Yeah.
the documentary. I think it's gonna be great.
So we were talking off camera before the live stream, and you had mentioned the story about you, the premonition you'd had with the dream. And
That's what the whole thing.
you know
really
what's
about.
interesting is that clicked with me instantly because I have my own story that's similar to that.
Oh, this is perfect. This is not planned.
No, not planned at all. And I don't know no context of it. And I'm talking young, like 3rd, 4th grade. I remember having this vivid dream of my mom going in to, there was a small grocery store in Palestine that used to be called Brock's.
Mhm.
And it's no longer there. The building's there, but it was just your typical small rural town, mom and pop, you know, had the deli right there and everything.
Yeah.
But I can remember like, oh, man, it's weird even thinking about it. But the second you told your story, like it hit this like light bulb memory in my head. Like I had one of those moments. Like I remember having a dream and me being in the back of a, and this is a weird part. Like I'm going to get like this is creeping me out. That's how weird.
I love it. This is what we do here, man.
I had this dream that I was in this big maroon car in the back seat with a bunch of stuff. And it's like we were going camping or something. And my mom had went into Brock's. And the weird thing is we don't live in Palestine.
No.
There's no reason to go to Brock's.
Sure.
And I had been there a few times as a little kid, but it's not like it's nothing I had ever went to like on a normal basis,
Right.
not even real familiar with it. But I can remember like in the dream, like desperately wanting my mom to come back out of the store. And I was little in it. And at the time I was panicking over the fact, like almost feeling like claustrophobic in the car and just weirded out by it. Like, because at the time in the dream, the car wasn't a car that I recognized or remembered or anything. And I kid you not, it wasn't. And I haven't thought about this since then, but it was clear. I remember that the second you told me your story. But was about 2 months later, my mom had picked up like a late 70s, early 80s maroon Ford LTD. I can remember it. It had a maroon interior. And we were going to Leverton Park in Palestine. And we were meeting family there to cook out. And I was in the back seat. And we had a bunch of stuff in the back. And all of a sudden, I started to have like a full-on panic attack because I had remembered like everyone sort of has like that deja vu moment. Oh, like this has happened before. It wasn't that. Completely wasn't that.
Right.
This was something different. I knew I had been there before, but in a context like I could remember exactly what had happened. And then there was this weird moment where I felt like, because in the dream, I never left the car and I was panicked that my mom wasn't coming back. I started to have a panic attack that I was going to be stuck in that car like for eternity. Like my life would never resume.
Right.
And I don't remember like how long it was. And I remember like this crazy too, like trying to open the doors and I couldn't get out because they were locked. And like it was the first time, like when I was younger, I used to deal with panic attacks. I had horrible anxiety. And that was like the first one.
Wow.
Yeah. And
that's nuts, man.
I have not thought of that since I was probably that age.
Wow.
And the second you told me your story about
it's all meant to be, man. You're meant to be a
Taula,
part of the show, dude. That's
the
awesome.
second you told me the story about the GAR, it's like I was a kid sitting in the backseat of that LTD with boxes and like a portable. I can see it vividly now. Like even think about it, like a portable little grill
right
in the back, those small little blue propane tanks, and like I think there was a small tin stuff, and like being just claustrophobic, and like you were telling that story, and it just washed over me.
That's crazy.
Yeah, hadn't thought about it.
See, I thought you were just enthusiastic about my story.
Yeah,
but I could tell on your face like you lit up when I started talking. about it.
Oh, totally. It hit me hard.
Yeah.
But that was it. So not to leave everyone hanging, but
you got out.
So eventually my mom came back out of the store and I wouldn't let her leave until she unlocked the doors. And I had to walk around the vehicle so many times, like just to like reassure myself, like I'm not stuck here for forever.
Right.
And ever since then I've had like small tics, like things that I hide from other
because
people where
one
all started it.
Wow.
Now the weird thing is I hadn't even realized that was the point where like all those things sort of kicked in until the second you were sitting there.
Wow,
and
dude.
Then it all washed over me and like oh man, like yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Welcome to the Paranormal Patio, Joe
Apparently,
Davis.
yeah. Thanks.
Wow.
I'm never coming back.
I've got bad news.
Yeah.
It gets weirder from here.
Yeah.
That's great.
I'm really curious. Have you the Mandela effect?
Oh yeah.
Have you ever discussed that?
We haven't covered it on the show, but
if you pull that as a topic, I have two really good stories with it.
Sweet.
With proof.
Okay. Season 3, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. That's sweet. Yeah.
Yeah, I have for those, I'll have to get it back. So when I'm just going to throw a teaser out. Teaser like your surface. When I was a little kid at my grandparents' house, my favorite book was Where the Wild Things Are.
Yeah.
And, oh man, this is weird. I don't know. It's just you can't see what we're sitting in. He's got this beautiful tapestry, but there's something haunting about. Like I was outside tuning my guitar in the dark, trying to do it softly because I was worried how loud his mic would be, and something about the vibe being out here in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
And, but my favorite childhood book was Where the Wild Things Are, And in the actual book, and there was a movie for it, there's this kid named Max, and he becomes the king of these wild beasts and let the wild rumpus begin. Except in my book, he's not called Matt or Max. He has a different name. And mine is the only copy I've ever seen like that.
That's weird.
And I still have it. It's still my favorite book. And I can remember watching the movie come out. And, man, this is weird. And the mom, the first time, like, he comes down in his suit and he's causing all this rumpus and ruckus. And she calls him Max. I was like,
why'd they change his name?
I don't want to spoil it. I'm going to save it. If I come back, I'll tell everyone what the name was.
Yeah, absolutely. We have to have you on an episode for sure.
Yeah. And like, I was like, what? Like, this is my favorite childhood book.
Wow.
I know that's not his name. I even have a shirt, like, Let the Wild Rumpus Begin. I was like, yeah. And yeah, that's not in my book. I have the book. And
have you looked into it to see if anybody else?
So that's the weird thing. I've Googled the heck out of it. That's how I got into the Mandela effect. I don't know if your listeners know, but just a little context to that. There's several things that people have vivid memories of something. The Berenstain versus the Berenstein Bears.
Yeah, that was mine.
Yeah, same for me. But I could wrap my head around that one. But if you start Googling, like, weird names change, like, different, that's
logos.
The first thing that pops up. That was my first, like, dipping the toe in the water.
Yeah.
And then there were several things that just sort of, I'm a 100% believer in the fact that I believe that there are parallel realities, and I am just
fit right in.
I'm just a specific set. Like, there are other me's. For them that don't know, I work at a bank now. I do loans. I sold cars for 20 years. I'm convinced that there is a version of me that's still there.
Oh, sure.
Still married. Convinced
Probably.
of it. I'm convinced that there's versions of me that any, like, major life decision, like in the backseat of that car when I walked around in circles, I totally believe that there's a version of me that never got out of the car.
That's creepy, dude. You've made this so dark.
I'm sorry. So, see, that's what you did. You drugged me out here to rehash all these old memories.
I can't wait to get you onto
an
episode. That's going to be a lot of fun.
It will.
For sure.
And in the meantime, Mandela Effect, look it up.
Yeah.
So when I bring it in, and I'll bring the book, I
really want to see the book.
And I have not been able to find anything on it that's any other copy. It's Max.
You brought
everywhere.
it with you whenever you made the jump, man.
Come out of the car. Was it it's the right age, man?
It was probably in the car with you that day.
I had no idea. No, I mean, that would make for a great story. Just proof that I'm not making up. That would be beautiful. But this thing sat at my grandparents' house. It was there for years. When I say I had the book, it's still up at my dad's. But when the movie came out, I looked at it again, and it didn't have it. It has this other name in it.
Wow.
Which is similar. And I said Matt earlier. That wasn't it. It's similar, but it's not.
All right.
It's not Matt. It's definitely not Max. And I'm like, well, what the heck? Do I have just like a weird, like, Chinese version of this book, bootleg? But no, like, there's no other copies that refer to him as something other than Max.
Weird.
That I can find. If your audience, maybe someone else can look into it, because I'm dying to know.
Yes. Oh, Jessica just said that they were talking about the Mandela effect, and even said the Berenstein Bears were the first one that she had heard of. And she also says there are other realities.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
100%.
100% agree.
100%.
I've thought that for years.
Yeah.
And the worst part, I don't even think I'm the, like, main one.
Wow. How could you ever be?
Yeah. No, I think there's, like, not necessarily like an alpha, but, like, I have taken a different path than the main path. I don't know if any of them have been watching Loki and the whole, like,
variant.
Like, I was on this bandwagon long before that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I completely think I'm a variant. I'm not the alpha one. I'm just some offshoot that's doing other things.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%. I'm on board with you, man.
Yeah.
So that'll be an episode next season to look forward to. And I don't know, we may even bring you back on the live stream for later on before then. Who knows?
I'm fine with that.
Awesome.
He's got a new. I don't know if they know. He's
That-
got a nice news. Oh, great place to stop. Right?
Everything's a secret.
Plant a
Everything's a
seed and
secret.
leave it.
Everybody, let's big round of applause for Joe Davis.
Thank you.
Jerod and the cat. I will, if I'm free, I will be at the show.
Thank
We
you.
will get some video for everybody because that's you and Damon have this very crunchy indie rock style, and I
Well,
love it.
when I was talking to Damon about the songs, or not Damon, but you about the songs, and how difficult it is to do it as one individual. The majority of our writing had always been two-piece, figuring it out. He'd play guitar some, I'd play guitar some. To get back to the name, whoever's singing and playing guitar, that's Jerod. Who's ever on the drum. And so when we would introduce or talk about ourselves, if I'm on the mic, I'm like, I'm Jerod, he's the cat, and then I'd hit right into a song. And then at some point we'd switch, and he would do the exact same thing. Funny to us, no one else cared. But with the album, it gave me an opportunity. Like typically when you just have a guitar and drums, you're limited. Like I got to carry the whole rhythm, the bass part of the song, and sing and rely on it. But with this, I was able to expand what I was able to do. And the version I shared with you was like before it was mastered. I apologize, but
That's all right.
when you get the actual documentary, I'll give you a clean, clean-ish as far as you can get with lo-fi. But,
Sure.
This last show that we're playing, we will have Damon on keys, Damon on guitar. Damon will play drums a little bit, but we'll have a drummer, a different drummer, and a bass player. Full sound, about as much lights as you can buy. A lot of lights. Professional sound. Like it's going to be the best that we could possibly sound.
Nice.
Yeah. So
Perfect.
I'd be excited for you guys to be able to catch some of it.
Sure.
Yeah.
I'll do my best.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. All right. We're going to let Joe go. We got more stuff coming up. We're going to take a little break, get everything set up, and we'll be back with you here shortly. Paranormal Patio live stream. Welcome back. Joe has left the building. That story that he sprung on me before he left, I had no idea, and that was awesome. And he's definitely going to be back for season 3 of the podcast. But in the meantime, these boys right here are going to be joining me for some more video projects in the future. I have with me tonight Cody Rich,
Hey.
Justin Van Schoik.
Hey.
We're just some early dudes who are going to go out and film stuff and get kidnapped by aliens. You guys are cool with that, right?
Of course. As long as we see something cool, I'm all about it.
Yeah. So one of the places that we're going to go and investigate and film is a place called Lucky Point in Indiana. And back in the 70s, it was like the UFO hotspot of Indiana. There's also Bigfoot sightings there, unexplained lights, and apparently there's also a ghost story with the area, which I'm not going to go in too much further. We'll save it. But there's also a lot of Native American stuff in that area. So there's a whole big swirl of inspiration for something cool to happen. So
for sure.
Definitely going to go check that out. So that'll be in the future some point, maybe in the fall, hopefully in the fall. But I have these guys here so you can meet them. They're going to be part of the Paranormal Patio team. I don't know what we'll call ourselves. We'll have to come up with a cool name.
Yeah.
You grow your beard out a little bit longer and we'll just be like,
Well, I shaved it for that party that I went to,
Yeah.
and it kind of bit me in the rear.
it's fine. You can grow it back.
Plenty of time.
Plenty of time. So, you guys, we've talked a lot about some of my weird stuff and some of the stuff that I've talked about in the show. You guys have had some of your own crazy stuff happen too. It's kind of been a way for us to all sort of come together and for me to bring you guys on board. And Cody was just reminding me of a story before we came back on the air about, just tell it because it's really creepy, especially the after, like the knowledge that you got afterwards.
So it's probably been 7-8 years ago. I was still living at my parents' house, and I got woke up in the middle of the night, and not exactly sure what woke me up, but happened to look down at the foot of my bed, and I just see an old woman, like half her face peeking up at the foot of my bed. So of course that just completely freaks you out.
Yeah.
So after hours of trying to fall back asleep, I'm able to finally sleep it off and don't think much of it. Well, I bring it up to my aunt. She was over at the house one night, and she said that she had a similar situation happen where in her house she was hearing footsteps and just these weird things happening.
Mm-hmm.
Well, eventually she also started seeing an old lady. So that creeped her out.
Yeah.
Because there were some similarities there. Well, she ended up visiting another relative, and as soon as you walked through the front door, she told me there was a picture of an old woman up on the wall. And she said completely freaked her out. Went up to that relative, was like, who is that in that picture? And it turns out it was one of our great aunts or great grandmas
Yeah.
So I really wish I could remember more of what the old woman looked like
And to see the picture.
and to see the picture.
Yeah.
Because it'd just be mind blowing if we're seeing the same.
Oh, you know it's the same. You know it's the same. It can't not be the same. That's nuts. I'm jealous because the ghost sightings that I've had are nowhere near as cool. So like that's all. I saw a cat one time. I saw a dog. I've had some experiences of stuff I can't explain, but I've never like had one of those weird verification things like that. Which maybe you did, maybe you didn't. But
Sure.
I'm gonna say you did because it's a much better story that it's the same old day.
Oh yeah, it sounds a lot better than.
And not to be outdone, but you have also got this crazy ghost cowboy story.
Yeah.
And I got some more info on it. So if you don't mind indulging everybody.
Well, I was probably in high school, maybe just out of high school. Me and buddies were going out, and we was doing our own little amateur ghost hunting. And I was telling Dad about it one day, and he was like, "Well, you know," he's like, your granddad has a videotape of a man, and he's like, clear as day. He's like, it was like a cutout in the rain." And he's like, in the cutout of this rain, he's like, you could see a man in a cowboy hat and a trench, like, you know, the old duster, you know, trench coat, whatever you want to call it. And Grandpa had passed away. We don't know what happened to the tape, but he swears up and down on it. I didn't think too much of it, but you know, I was talking to a local ghost hunter, and he had heard the same stories. So, and then I ended up telling you about it,
Yeah.
and so there's got to be something with it. I
Yeah.
mean, it's kind of ironic that many different people have had, you know, sightings.
Yeah,
or-
didn't he say there was like over a dozen people that have told him about like
oh
the same
yeah,
thing?
there was a bunch of people that had told him about it.
Yeah.
And then like and then you had.
Yeah, so I was talking about it like with some people at work, and one of the guys at work was like, yeah, like right in that area, there used to be this big like horse barn or something, or stables or something like that. And it's really crazy, like the exact same place. And then there's a cowboy, like,
Yeah.
that's nuts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, supposedly if you get to that crossroad there and it's raining out, supposedly you can see him here and there, you know, I don't know
I
what.
look every time I go.
Oh, I do see it. I haven't
Just
seen,
hoping for the
Yeah,
one
that
sighting.
one time.
I haven't seen it yet, but I mean, when I do, I'm going to freak out.
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know, an excitement or being scared or what, but I'll probably be excited.
Yeah. Oh, sure. But it's hard to overcome that like fear. That,
Oh,
like,
sure.
It's a primal, like instinctual
Mhm.
fear, you know, when you get into dealing with weird stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
You know, you build up a lot of it in your head, and, you know, thinking about it, like just sitting around on the couch. Oh, if I ever saw a ghost walk through this living room or whatever, you know, but
Once you see it, your mind tries to reject it and
Yeah.
convince you otherwise.
and the weird thing is, like, I've talked about this before. There's a lot of times where I'll have something weird happen,
Mm.
and I'll be like, "Wow, that was awesome! It's really weird. It's cool." And then, like 2 or 3 days later, like it's out of the processing in my head. Like I'll remember it, but
Mhm.
I won't think about it anymore.
Sure.
It's like it has this built-in like Men in Black, like you know, zapper or whatever, mind melter stick. It's just like, nope. But it's pretty common for that to happen. So if you get scared, it's okay.
Yeah,
You'll forget about it,
right.
and you'll be fine.
But if you
You'll
don't
live your life.
remember, then call Jason and get him there ASAP.
Right.
ASAP. Yes.
Yes.
Grab the camera and wait for me.
Yeah, just leave my camera in the truck. And,
I don't know. We may have to go out to that spot, man. We may have to go see if we can find the ghost cowboy.
dude, if we do that, we got to do my parents' barn too.
Yeah. Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Tell the barn story. If you don't
So
mind.
yeah, so I was just a kid. Well, I don't know, junior high. I don't know how old I was, but younger. And out in we have this old barn, or my parents have this old barn that's on the property, and there's rooms in it. We've kind of turned it into a garage, but in one of the rooms we keep our big deep freeze. And you know, usual kid, you know, I'm out there looking for pizza rolls or whatever, and there's a loft in the barn, and I start to hear something up there. So I kind of, I quit looking through the freezer, and I just kind of listen. It goes away. So I go back to what I was doing. I grabbed whatever, I close the freezer, and I start to walk back out towards the big door of the barn to go back to the house. And at that point, it was clear. It sounded like somebody in cowboy boots or heel, something with a big heel, and you could just hear it walking with me. Like every step I took, it took a step, heels on wood, just clear as day. And the loft ends right before the door to the barn. So like whatever it was, it followed me all the way to the edge. So then I'm just standing there like, whatever it is looking down, just waiting to pounce on me, So yeah, I tore out, I was just a kid, so I wasn't interested one bit in seeing what it was. So I tore out of there, but I swear there was a man. I don't know if there was a real man up there or if it was a ghost, but somebody was up there with boots on. So,
Yeah, for sure.
but as old of a barn as it is, I'd have to think there's probably some kind of history behind it. I don't know what it is, but
Sure. Yeah, you never know.
mhm.
Our little area of the state has got a lot of history. Like, we go back a long ways. We had the big oil boom here. And, there's been people here for some time, for as far as, you can get into American history. We're a pretty young country, but, there's been people here for a little bit.
Mhm.
So there's definitely that possibility for sure. And I probably would have bolted for the door too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. Do you guys have anything else you want to talk about while I have you here? No?
No.
Cool.
Just excited about doing stuff.
Getting out, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. We will. I have to finish this documentary first, though. I'm not dragging my feet, I promise. I'm working on it, okay? I'm working on it. Actually, it'd be a good time if we have people that are in the stream now that weren't in at the beginning. I think I'll go ahead and I will play the teaser again, just so everybody can get another shot of it. And I think when we come back, we will bring on Adam Taula, my good friend Adam Taula, if he's still there. I see him. No one else can see him. He's right here. He's a little bitty. He's looking around. Yeah, I see you, Adam. I see you. We have to go back to like 2001. I was experimenting a lot with astral projection and lucid dreaming at the time. And I had this lucid dream that my girlfriend at the time and I were flying around Southern Illinois. And then we crossed the Ohio River, which at the time I didn't even consider like we're crossing the Ohio River. Like we're just flying, And we land on the other side of the river. Again, geographically, this was not like in my processing. So we land in what I can only assume would have been Kentucky. And we land in front of this really nice house in this small town that's like fairly dilapidated. Like it's nothing there. And this house really stuck out to me. I remember it. I can still see like the dream version of it. So we land in front of this house and we walk up to the riverbank because the house is right on the river. And there's all these dead garfish on the bank of the river. And then I woke up. So 2 years later, 2003, 2004, me and a couple of my buddies decided to go hiking for the day in Southern Illinois. They had never been, so I was kind of like the de facto guide for the whole day. And I took them to all the spots that I knew, and we weren't ready to come home yet. So trying to think what's one more thing that we can do, while we're here. So we double back and we take the ferry at Cave in Rock, which is right at the Ohio River, cross over, drive a little ways, and we find Smithland, Kentucky. And we just take a random road and we park the car and we get out and I look to my left and there is the same house that I had the dream about. The exact same house right on the river. And immediately I'm like, I remember this dream. And I'm like, oh, this is really, really weird. I had never been here before. So we get out and we walk up to the riverbank and my friend Paul is just a little ways ahead of me. And he says, hey guys, come here, look at this. And we get up there and there's all these dead garfish on the bank. And I'm like, oh, this is just nuts. I had never had anything like this happen before, ever. I started watching Hellier. I watched the whole thing, and they're talking about the book at Adorpa. I thought it was interesting. The illustrations are awesome, and they use a lot of them in Hellier Season 2. I decided I'm going to start reading this book, and I found it online. It was, it was like a chapter or two in, and there's a map, and it's like all these like areas, around where the I Am the Man goes in Kentucky on his way to the cave. And number two on this map is Smithland, Kentucky. And I thought, oh Jesus, like I am flooded with all this, like, wow, this is crazy, absolutely nuts. So I'm listening to Pennyroyal the second time through. I didn't notice it the first time. In the last episode you mentioned Alistair Crowley visited his family in Livingston County, Kentucky. And then I was like, what the hell? Like Livingston County is Smithland. I mean, there's a couple of other little like villages or hamlets or whatever, but there's nothing there. There's no major point of interest really, like from a mundane physical life standpoint anyhow. I'm going to be talking to Nathan and Darian for my show. I'm going to ask them about it.
That's the thing I didn't connect when, like when we were talking about it. When you said Smithland, all I knew was Livingston, County, Kentucky, right? But I didn't know Smithland was in Livingston, Kentucky.
Yeah.
So you pointed it out to me, and I'm like, holy shit. And then you and I started pulling up the maps and everything, and there isn't anything in that county except for Smithland. And really, there's only a few buildings. Like, if you came to Livingston County in 1904, any of the years that he could have been here, that Alistair Crowley could have visited his family, that's it. He would have had to go to Smithland. And the only thing that was there...
Yeah, that's something else I didn't even point out is, like, there's the house in Smithland that I had the dream about that I found in real life by happenstance. And there's another building just to the south of that, and then on the south side of that building, on the opposite corner of the house, is an old Freemasons Hall, and it was also used for a bunch of other stuff. Like in the Civil War, they used it for supplies and stuff for the Union Army, because you have the Ohio River just to the north, and just to the east, the Cumberland River starts right off of the Ohio River at Smithland. So it was pivotal to move supplies, back and forth and all kinds of other stuff. So it was definitely important during that time. Then it became a church, and then it would eventually, it's just an empty historical building now. I mean, it's protected. It's not going to be torn down or anything, but...
And so that's an interesting thing, too, because for Crowley, at that time, he was traveling around the U.S.,
All right, we are back, and hopefully this is going to work out. We may have to run into the house and grab some speakers, but we will bring Adam in. Hopefully he'll be able to hear us. We'll be able to hear him. Everything will work out. We're going to bring him in right now. There's Adam.
Hello?
Hello.
Can you hear me?
Sort of. Hopefully I'll be able to hear you enough that without having to run to the house. I think we'll be okay. There we go. That's better. Cody and Justin are going to hang out with us while we talk about this crazy story and the scariest EVP that I have ever heard in my entire life.
It's kind of scary, a little bit.
It's weird because Adam and I have talked about this. It's easy to dismiss EVPs when you're not there, but in this event, Adam was there, so he can tell us exactly what happened, and we'll play it, and it's terrifying, and it will curdle your blood, and you'll have to try to go to sleep whenever you're done listening to it. So good luck. You gonna be okay?
I turned my nightlight on.
Yeah, Adam, how are you doing, bud?
Good. How are you guys? Nice
We're
to meet
good.
you.
We're good. You're very quiet, but hopefully, I don't have to ask you to repeat yourself a bunch of times. We should have did a much better dry run of this, but I think we'll be okay. First off, everybody should know you from my show, but set the stage. Who is the Paranormal Polynesian, and what does he do?
Set the stage. So I used to be a paranormal investigator. I started over 20 years ago. And I just, I took a break and I decided I wanted to do a YouTube channel to just talk about my investigations that I've done over the years, take people back to places I visited, and kind of just do like a travel show, and then also come back home, do haunted DIY crafts. And I also love Halloween, so I love to decorate. So it's kind of like a home and travel channel on YouTube. And I get into lots of, trouble. So you should come along and join me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, everybody should, because I love your content, man. We have a lot of fun. We have a lot of talks too, in between both of us doing our own stuff. And we have decided to team up on something. You want to talk about that?
Yeah. So you just talked about your Patreon. So that's exciting. I'm launching mine as well. And what I'd like to do for, a certain tier of our members is to do a monthly live stream with you. And I think we're going to call it, what are we going to call it? After Dark. After Dark. Oh, there it is. So fancy. This podcast, it's going to be all things paranormal. We're going to take a topic. We're going to take topics from the Patreon members, and we're just going to go for like an hour and just discuss everything about that topic. And there's nothing off limits. You can just
absolutely.
send in a message.
It's going to be a lot of fun. On the subject of Patreon, so you're starting your Patreon. I just made the announcement. We're going to have a Patreon for the show. I've always said, hey, the show is always going to be free. Hey, I don't want your money. Leave me alone. When people ask, like, how can I donate? What's your Patreon? It's been from the very beginning. So my show is going to remain free. Everything is going to continue on. You don't have to do anything. But if you want to join the Patreon, there's 3 tiers. The first tier is just $3 a month. You get all the episodes early. If you want to go to the next step, then you get a monthly live stream with me. This is independent of the live stream that I'll be doing with Adam. That will be for his Patreon. But the live streams with me will be something similar to this, probably not quite as elaborate as the one tonight. But, I mean, we got a lot going on. And you'll also get early access to any video content that comes out and to merch. And on the subject of merch, I'm going to pull this up right now. I just got the design in for the first Paranormal Patio t-shirt. So I want to share that with everybody. I'm looking forward to it. I commissioned it with steam-powered mouse, and she is awesome. And we're going to show that right now. Hopefully everybody will be able to see it. There you go. Got all kinds of the cool stuff in there. UFOs, Mothman, Bigfoot, ghosts, all that good stuff. Yeah. Let's see if we can get that a little. No, it didn't really help at all.
I'll take 2 of them, please.
So, yeah, it's me with all my words. But yeah, that's going to be awesome. That will be available starting tomorrow for anybody who comes to the Patreon, and then probably next month for the general public, just to give everybody on Patreon the heads up. And the third tier on my Patreon is you invite me and my guest for a podcast episode into your patio, and you get to do an intro with me for the episode. Virtually, of course. You don't have to travel all the way over here in the middle of nowhere. But if you live around here, hey, you're welcome to come by.
Jason, nobody lives around there, so it's okay.
Yeah, well, you're welcome anytime, Adam.
I'll just jump on the train. I'll be there in about 32 hours. So
yeah, 32-hour train ride.
Just hold up here for me.
You'll be fine. You know, you can sleep on a train.
I was gonna say, don't they have sleeper cars?
They I don't know if Amtrak has sleeper cars or not. Adam lives like right by a train station, so like, and I just have to go pick him up. I can do that.
I just live in the streets by a train station, so I can just jump on any time and just get right over there. So,
Did you say you just live in the streets by the train station? All right. Well, you're here to talk about this specific event that happened and this terrifying EVP. We'll play the EVP last because I don't want to just put that out and then we have to like backfill. So tell us a story about the Ogden Exchange Building and the night that this EVP was recorded.
So the Ogden Exchange Building, it's in Ogden, Utah, which is about an hour and a half from me north. And this building was a livestock exchange building, and it was built in the 1930s, I think 1931. And so people would go to trade their livestock for money. And this particular building, it has a very colorful history. There's been murders. There's been suspicious deaths, suicides. In one instance, I was told that a man jumped off the second floor balcony into the front lobby when he walked in and head first and killed himself in this building. So it's got all sorts of crazy stuff going on. The building, it only functioned as a livestock exchange building until probably the 70s. And then that's when it was turned into a mental hospital.
Nice.
It's fine. Just turn it into a mental hospital. Because that will help things. But one of the stories that I was told by the owner, and by the way, the woman who bought this building and invited me with my team to investigate, she was turning this into her house to live in, which is crazy if you ask me. No, it would never happen. So this is like 10,000 square feet. It's terrifying inside. I wish I could go back in there, but it's pretty much condemned. Anyhow, when the building was a mental hospital, at the front room of the building, which will come into play later, I was told that a woman who was in there detoxing or whatever, she kind of lost it and she tried to jump out of the window and she either cut her neck on the glass or she cut her own throat with glass. We're not sure. And then she died out on the ground outside of this window. So this room in particular is where kind of everything has always happened when we've investigated. And the history is so muddy, so it's hard to say for sure what could have happened. Not to mention the building was used as an entrance to tunnels that took people into the main city of Ogden for opium dens and human trafficking. And, it's like a little Portland over there. So this building has a shady past. So one of the first nights I went there to investigate, I remember I was really uneasy just because I didn't know anyone, and the owner had a bunch of different groups kind of mix up and go into different groups and do, ghost box sessions, EVP sessions. And although I wasn't in the group that took this EVP, I was there that night. And so this building has no running water, period. There's a porta potty outside. and so, and a lot of us back in that day were chain smokers. So we had to just, we kind of took a break. Everyone kind of gathered outside and we had our little smoke break. And so when we went back in the building, I think that's when he, and I'm trying to remember his name. Is it Brendan? So I honestly don't really speak to him, so it's been years. But so this gentleman came out and he was just flabbergasted at this EVP that he had caught in the same room that I just talked about, where the woman supposedly died. So I don't know what to make of it. There wasn't a tub in that room. This room didn't have anything that could have. There was no way that you could have made these sounds, especially since there was just no one there in the room. So this EVP is also the longest EVP I think I've ever heard.
Yeah, I've got a trimmed down version of it. If it's okay with you, you want to go ahead and I'll play it. Is that all right?
Yeah, take a listen
right.
and tell me what you guys think you hear.
I'm just going to take you off the stream here for a second. I'll bring you right back. I'm going to play it twice, the whole thing through. So listen to it again. Man, that gets me every time. Like, we don't have like any good audio out here right now. Like, we're just playing off the internal speaker of my PC. I'm gonna play it for these guys when we're done because it is just absolutely like it just resonates in me. To me, it sounds like a child. And I know you said you never thought that. You said it sounded like a woman to you, right?
Yeah, those of your listeners or viewers that don't know me, I don't want to say like I'm like sensitive or psychic or whatever, but I am able to go into a building and I kind of get like a mental image of what might have taken place there in the past. And I know that in this particular room, I just kept seeing like a teenage girl. This was before the EVP was even captured, and I mean, I think that's what I'm hearing. And I just wanted to give the credit for that EVP. It's for Brendan Cook and Barbara McBeath, and they're from the Ghost Investigator Society here in Utah. And that was captured back in 2005. But all these years later, it's still, I think it goes down as the best one that I've ever heard.
Yeah, it's absolutely terrifying. I think because to me it sounds like a small child. Like, I have kids, so that's why it bothers me so much. I mean, it is, to me, listening to it, it is somebody drowning a kid, like in a bathtub or something. That's what it sounds like.
Yeah, it doesn't sound good. Whatever.
No, absolutely not. It does not sound good.
And like, to make things even crazier, I mean, that specific room again, it's when we would do spirit box sessions, it would just like speak out my name over and over again and just like talk to me directly, which is, I never had that happen anywhere else since. And then also someone in our group caught a photo, and I wish I had it for you, but you see what looks like a monk standing in the reflection of the window, the same window where this woman supposedly died jumping out of. And you can see a man who looks like he's wearing robes, and the way the reflection was cast on that window, he would have had to have been at least 8 or 9 feet tall. So we don't know what that's about, but that's yet another thing that happened in this room.
Yeah.
So it's definitely yeah, that's
Not
the one
good.
place in the hospital that I just remember. You know, we could go every night, something would happen.
Yeah. Well, we talked about that. So, you want to talk about your upcoming Patreon stuff, like how things are going to work for you?
Sure. Mine's pretty basic. I'm just doing YouTube. So, my main thing is I'm trying to, raise funds kind of to be able to bring more content and travel more I want to travel to lots of different haunted places around the country. I'm going to Gettysburg in a few months and Savannah, Georgia, and some other like cool places like that. And I would love to be able to do more of that type of thing for my viewers. So my Patreon, it's just under my name, the Paranormal Polynesian. We just have 2 tiers. One's $3. And with that, you get early access to my YouTube uploads and a secret private group on Facebook. I don't know what that is, but I was told to put that in there. So we'll try it out. And then, eligibility for some cool drawings. I'm also an artist, and so I might raffle off different paintings I've done every quarter. And then my other tier is just $5, and that gives you that podcast / live stream that we talked about, and a 20% discount in my merch store, which I'm also working on. So I'm making some cool, interesting things for sale in my store. And I just opened that yesterday, and it's called the paranormalpolynesian.com. So
Yeah.
some of these things are right behind
I like it. And I'm looking forward to everything that is coming from you, from your direction. I guess I didn't, in the little announcement for my Patreon, I didn't even put the name on it. It's patreon.com/Beyond the Patio. Beyond the Patio is going to kind of be my umbrella thing for everything that's outside of just the podcast, which will remain completely the same, totally unchanged. Again, because I've always said it's going to be free. It's always going to be free. And it is. It will always be free. And it will always not be on Apple because it's a personal decision. And Adam, thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having
That
me.
story is awesome. The EVP is absolutely bone-chillingly terrifying.
I know.
And I hate you a little bit for making me listen to it.
Well, I'm here for you anytime you need me to make you. So just give me a call.
Is there anything else you want to talk about while I have you here?
No, just you guys keep listening to Jason's podcast. I mean, gosh, you do such a great job. And I like I said, I've told you this before, but I've been on quite a few podcasts lately. And you're just so good at what you do. And I think anyone who's from my viewers that are watching, please check out Jason, his podcast, The Paranormal Patio. It's awesome. He's got some really cool guests on there. So I just thank you again for, letting me be here tonight and just being
Thanks,
so
buddy.
good at what you do.
Kind words. We'll catch up later, okay?
Okay, thanks.
Thanks so much for coming on. Adam Taula, check out Paranormal Polynesian YouTube channel. Always good stuff. Every video is a must watch. So you must watch it. Thanks,
Bye.
Adam.
Thanks.
All right. Well, there's that. So let's take one more break and we'll come back and we'll do a Q&A. So if you guys have any questions, post them in the chat. I'll pull them up and we will answer them to the best of our ability. So we will be right back. Hang tight. Don't go anywhere. Wow. Man, those EVPs, that EVP is, we just listened to it outside. I want to play it for these guys. I had goosebumps from the base of my skull all the way down my body. Like my leg hair is still like standing. That is the audio of somebody being murdered.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whether it's a kid or a young woman, whatever, it is just awful.
Clear as day, somebody getting drowned.
Yeah, it's terrible. Absolutely terrible. I don't like it. I don't like it. Let's get some Q&A going here. Cody Rich. Don't have the balls to ask me in person. You guys send it in on the chat.
I did. We just weren't on camera.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well. So, when are we going to join the Paranormal Polynesian Skinwalker Ranch? Well, let's just Taula says, yeah. So let's go in a group so I don't get abducted. I would totally love to go. I think there's this fascination with the Skinwalker Ranch right now.
Sure.
There's the new show on History Channel, I think. And it's got a lot of traction going. Adam has noticed there's a lot of traction going for his Skinwalker Ranch content. I think the History Channel show is a lot of really bad actors getting paid a lot of money to pretend. But the history of the place, for sure, there's stuff that goes on there. There's a lot of crazy stuff. Adam can attest to that, and he has several times. He's got some just insane stories from there. Yeah, if I ever go out to visit Adam, or when I go get around to going out and visiting Adam, I hope we can go and make a trip. Can't get on the ranch itself, but we can get pretty close, and probably closer than we need to be.
Sure.
Adam's probably sitting there shaking his head. Yep, closer than you need to be for sure. Oh man, what else we got going on in the chat? Kyle Cadell, I'm wearing your shirt, buddy. I was just telling these guys they need to get some. Dude, love these break videos. Nathan, you need those? Hey, I'll be happy to help you out. I could do this for you. Just let me know. I think the Liminal Lodge secret Facebook group, definitely we could do something. I can help you out. You guys always help me out. I can help you guys out for sure. Got another question from Connor. My question for the Q&A: what got you interested in the paranormal and just the weirdness in general? That's a loaded question. So I think just the time that I was born, I never knew a world without Ghostbusters, right? So for me, I was still young and impressionable right at the height of Ghostbusters, the phenomenon, and the cartoon came out, and I was primed and ready. And that really started me on it. My family's pretty conservative, and there wasn't much of an outlet for talking about weird stuff, or anybody willing to tell me weird stuff for fear of terrifying me as a child. But my grandma and I would always talk about UFOs and aliens. I remember it. We would talk about it all the time. So that was a big thing. And I had several experiences as I got older that put me into it. And it really took off when I started studying astral projection and lucid dreaming. It got me into the broader weirdness. And thanks to Ghostbusters, I've always had the sweet tooth for horror movies, and that spurs all of that stuff. So I can't really pinpoint it down to one thing, but I think it's just the time that I grew up and the things I like to watch. First nightmare I remember was actually involved my grandma. So I liked Gremlins a lot. Okay, so my grandma bought me this piggy bank of Gizmo. It was like this tall, ceramic, and I had it. And I had this nightmare that it came to life. And that wasn't the scary part, but it got wet and the gremlins came. And I was trapped in my grandma's spare bedroom. And there's all these gremlins running around. They weren't trying to hurt me or anything, but I was terrified. And my grandma came in to check on me in my dream. And I told her, I'm scared. I'm standing on a little end table in the corner, like the stereotypical woman with a mouse in the room. And she's like, well, which one is the most scary? And I told her it was, it's Stripe, of course, because he was there.
Right.
And she's like, okay. And she takes a trash can and puts it over him. And then there's just a trash can running around the room. And so, yeah, that was the first nightmare that I had. And I was terrified of that bank after that for a while. And I ended up getting rid of it. And I wish I still had it because that'd be really sweet.
Right.
You have it sitting right here. It was pretty cool. So I don't know if that answers your question. I hope it does. I don't know. That's the best answer you're going to get right now, I think. I could probably sit and think and really narrow that down more for you, and I might in the future. Let's see what else we've got. AJ says, it is crazy what they've experienced on the ranch. Remember your Geiger counter, right? Yeah, we don't need to get radiation poisoning if we're ever able to go. But I think that might be the least of our worries. If you ask Adam, I think he would probably take the radiation poisoning over some of the stuff that he's been through. It's just terrifying. Long live the Ghostbusters. Yes, you're right. Good. Definitely answers. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for asking. If anybody else has anything here, we'll just give you a minute or so. We'll wrap this thing up. Thanks for sticking on. It's a 2-hour mark almost right now. So I know we had some breaks and stuff, but we did a lot tonight. I think I got everything covered. T-shirt will be available to Patreon members starting tomorrow. Patreon will be live. Well, it's live now, actually. It's been live for a while. It's just been a secret. I'll post links to it everywhere so everybody can get in, sign up, and then you'll get a link to come to the secret Facebook page. That's where all the streams and everything will be. Very similar to the Liminal Lodge for Penny Royal, if you guys are there. And sounds like that's pretty well what Adam's going to do, too, for his. And his will also be on YouTube, I think, too. This is on YouTube, but in the future, it may or may not be. I haven't decided exactly how we're going to do that. Yeah, appreciate all the support. And we don't have any more questions. Thank you guys for coming, hanging out. You guys got to meet the new team, which is exciting. Big plans. We're going to try to scare Justin back into diapers.
It'll probably happen.
It's okay because, every group needs that dynamic, We got to have the one guy.
The big bearded guy that's the most scared.
Yeah. Breaking all the stereotypes. Yeah. I hope everybody liked the teaser. Thanks again to Joe Davis for coming on. Thanks again, especially to Adam Taula for coming on. Adam's great. Check out his stuff because it's awesome. And he's launching a bunch of new stuff right along with me. So we're kind of tag teaming this thing, really. Yeah, I think that's it. You guys have anything before we wrap up? No? All right. Awesome.
Looking forward to everything.
Yes, me too. Big things. I've already started booking guests for season 3. So I'm not going to tell you who they are yet. But there's some good stuff. We'll probably come back to the podcast, new episodes, regular episodes for Hair Raising Horror Week 2, the week of Halloween. And then we'll get right back into the content for the regular podcast. In the meantime, I would say by next Friday, there will be some new bonus audio on the Patreon and extra episodes that you'll get early that I barely talked about. There's some good stuff coming. So thanks again for coming, staying up late, hanging out. And if you're watching this not live, hey, thanks for your support. All right. Everybody be safe, have fun, stay weird, stay paranormal, keep it paranormal, whatever. Adam, keep it paranormal. And yeah, we'll catch you on the next one, guys. Thanks a lot.